This is Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch network. Earlier today, Donald Trump's RICO lawsuit filed against Hillary Clinton and Peter Strzok and Mark Elias and about 30 other defendants who Trump has ranted and raved on his failing social media platform about. And when he had Twitter, who he ranted about, he filed a lawsuit that basically looked like a gigantic stream of consciousness social media post with all of the insane and demented thoughts in his mind. And a federal judge earlier today, a federal judge who was actually qualified, who the case went before, dismissed Donald Trump's lawsuit. And as it relates to all of the defendants who argued on the merits, like Hillary Clinton and the individuals I just said, dismissed the case with prejudice, meaning no more case. Not only that, but the judge said that this case was so poorly filed and had such inconsistent, made up, lies in its factual assertions, asserted legal claims without any basis whatsoever, didn't file it within the statute of limitations, didn't even understand the claims they were alleging. It didn't even understand what RICO was and what type of predicate acts were required when it made these outlandish and false claims about wire fraud and all these other claims. And the judge said, it's so frivolous that I would consider retaining jurisdiction for sanctions. And there is a rule, Federal Rule 11, which deals with sanctions for lawyers who sign their names on pleadings in absolute bad faith and without considering the merits and the truth and the law behind these filings. And so the judge said, I am not convinced that this case was filed with any modicum of good faith, and I will retain jurisdiction for sanctions. So not only am I going to dismiss this, but there could be tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of dollars now in Rule 11 monetary sanctions against the lawyers Alina Habba, potentially against Trump, against all the other lawyers who signed their names to the pleading. Now, I want to show you propaganda versus reality, because what we've seen very recently as well with Alina Habba going on all the networks and lying about all the things about the search warrant at Mar-a-Lago on August 8th, I want to show you that this playbook of filing frivolous cases that then are not judicially cognizable, that get dismissed, these lawyers get sanctioned, and Alina Habba, Christina Bobb, this whole new crew of lawyers, right? They're just replacing the other lawyers who were disbarred and sanctioned or are facing disbarment. Of course, we know the high-profile ones like Rudy Giuliani and Sidney Powell, but there are also many, many other lawyers who signed their names to pleadings that tried to put forward the big lie with false declarations and all of this erroneous material. And when it got into court, when it got before federal judges, even Trump judges, 70 judges dismissed like all of these election-related cases that Trump filed because they were all made up and all bogus and all BS. And so now we have Alina Habba as the next generation of these lawyers who are putting forth these erroneous, frivolous claims before our judicial system. And here's what they do. I'm going to show you the clip of Alina Habba going on Fox on Hannity and basically bragging about what a great lawsuit it is. And Fox gave it the airtime. Now, Fox is never going to now talk about, oh, it was a frivolous lawsuit where they're sanctioned. But Fox gave this airtime, promoted this as a valid lawsuit to its base. And that's part of the propaganda and, frankly, defamatory machine that Fox does to inject disinformation into its viewers. Let's play this clip.
I like this lawsuit, Alina. I think this holds people accountable because we've not gotten the answers as to how a dirty Russian disinformation dossier purchased by Hillary Clinton and money she used with the DNC as well was used. It is a document that can never be verified, 4 phony FISA applications approved, Christopher Steele and the subsource admitting it was all bunk, and yet they continued to spy on the president through Carter Page. I think this is a very valid suit, and I'd like to get to the bottom of it.
Thank you, Sean. I agree with you. It's wonderful when you can actually file a suit that is, in the most part, proven, which is the situation that I find myself in. First with Mueller, which debunked it, Horowitz's IG report, and then now Durham, who's been instrumental as well. You can't make this up. You literally cannot make a story like this up. And Sean, you have been calling it out from the beginning. You are right. And President Trump is just not going to take it anymore. If you are going to make up lies, if you are going to try and take him down, he's going to fight you back. And that is what this is. This is the beginning of all that.
Greg, you wrote 2 #1 best-selling books on this topic. You laid out the case better than anybody. I see this lawsuit has great merit. I guess it'll depend, obviously, on the judge that first sees it.
Yeah, Alina Habba literally has no clue what she is doing, except that she knows that she's going to do whatever Donald Trump says, and she is going to lie, and she's going to put forth these frivolous allegations in the lawsuits that are just not judicially cognizable. Now, one of the things that we've previously mentioned in an earlier YouTube video, which I will mention here, though, is that video I just showed you was from March of 2022 when the lawsuit was filed. They had already blown the statute of limitation by over a year at that point, or close to a year at that point, depending on which one of Trump's tweets had already discussed the allegations that he was making in the complaint. But one of the things that they did immediately after filing their lawsuit, this frivolous RICO lawsuit, and this is so freaking telling, is that they tried to get the judge who was assigned to this case, they tried to get him removed from the case. In April, they filed a disqualification motion. And what they tried to do also with this lawsuit is, instead of file it in the West Palm Division of the Southern District of Florida, they filed that case in the Fort Pierce Division because they were trying to, again, forum shop for Eileen Cannon. And in that case, in the RICO case, they did not get Eileen Cannon when they were trying to draw her as a judge by filing in the only district by Fort Pierce where that judge, Eileen Cannon, sits. It got assigned to another judge, or qualified judge, who said this lawsuit is absolute insane. But think about it for a moment. What would have happened if Judge Eileen Cannon got this RICO case, right? She probably would not have dismissed the case if her conduct in connection with the motion for judicial oversight that Trump filed in connection with the search warrant is any indication of how corrupt she is. So after trying to get this case filed, this RICO case filed in Eileen Cannon, and didn't, they then tried to move to disqualify this current judge, and this current judge, in an order, denied the disqualification and noted in footnote 3, in one of the footnotes, he noted, it's obvious that you were trying to forum shop for the judge who Trump appointed in 2020, who took their seat after Trump lost the election, and who you put there basically as a stooge. The judge didn't say that, but the judge indicated that is basically what you were doing, and it's obvious to me. Now, this happened in April, and legal observers didn't really focus on what was going on there. Of course, we didn't know that a search warrant would be executed at Mar-a-Lago in August 8th, but it's so telling on how corrupt Eileen Cannon is, as well as part of this cabal, if you will, of radical right corrupt extremists who are trying to undermine our law and attacking our judiciary from within. And that's just what's so dangerous about people like Alina Habba, this information being promoted and disinformation being promoted by Fox, having people like Eileen Cannon as the recipients of these dangerous filings, because the filing that Trump did in connection with the search warrant, the motion for judicial oversight and related relief, is a made-up motion. The same way legal observers looked at this RICO lawsuit and said, this is Rule 11 sanctionable, this is frivolous. That's how we all looked at the motion that he filed in connection with the search warrant. Heck, there wasn't even an affidavit attached to it from Trump saying this is my property or that's my property. It was basically just a rambling letter to the judge in a motion form. It should have been sanctionable, not being granting a special master. But thankfully, in connection with the search warrant case, the DOJ's most recent filing asking for a partial stay was just so brilliantly done, in that it basically focused her order and said, well, Judge, you clearly don't know what you're doing. Didn't say it like that, but You can't dispute, no one can dispute that Trump should own classified material, top secret, sensitive, compartmented information. So we just want to separate those documents because, Judge, this impacts not just our ability to do our work as the Department of Justice in our criminal investigation, which is a critical function of what we do to prosecute potential crimes and actual crimes, but the national security is now at the risk with these 100 documents. So, Judge, are you going to rule against our own national security and say that Trump owns the classified material? Look, we own all the other material, the DOJ said, but we're going to appeal that to the 11th Circuit. We should get all these other records, the thousands of other government documents that exist. Those don't belong to Trump. But Judge, we will allow you to go on your tangent for a little bit and do what you want to do there. But we're focusing on these 100 classified records, and we need those, Judge. So what are you going to do? And it forces Trump to basically claim he owns his only objection, his only opposition, and he has to file an opposition to this. Well, he potentially had to meet and confer by today, but he has to file a opposition to this by the 12th, according to Judge Cannon's most recent order, for him to claim that those 100 classified documents should go to a special master and that the government should be enjoined or stopped from using that in their criminal prosecution. He has to now claim he owns those records. And if he claims that he owns those records, he doesn't. So he'd have to be admitting to the crime. And if he claims he declassified those records, which he's batshit crazy, so he may claim I declassified those records in a public filing, not what he's going to put on a social media platform. In many ways, it's even worse. It's even more dangerous. So you just declassified haphazardly, potentially nuclear secrets? How dangerous can it be? One, you don't even have the power to do that, to declassify nuclear secrets, number one. But you declassified all of this information? How? And you would be willing to put our nation at risk by declassifying those records? So it boxes Trump in. It boxes Judge Alina Habba in. And it's just such a brilliant maneuver. And you compare that brilliant legal maneuver, you compare that with people like Alina Habba and Fox spreading all of this disinformation and all of this propaganda. But fortunately, propaganda exposed. Fortunately, people like Dominion and Smartmatic, they filed defamation lawsuits against Fox, and fortunately, those are working its way. Fox has some major billion-dollar liability for its defamation that's going to be happening in the next 9 months to 18 months is when those cases will go to trial. Existential, bet the company type litigations. I don't think Dominion or Smartmatic or any of these people who have been defamed by Fox are going to settle. I really don't. They have enough money. They paid their lawyers a lot already. I think they want to see this through, and they want to call up Sean Hannity and Tucker Carlson and Laura Ingraham, people who they've already deposed already, by the way, at trial. So we will see what happens there, but just wanted to give you that context and show you that Alina Habba was laughed out of court. She always gets laughed out of court. I mean, I could tell you there's other examples as well. You know, she was the one who was handling that case up in New York with Trump's records with Tish James, the New York Attorney General, where Trump was held in contempt of court and had to pay like $120,000 or $150,000 because he was held in contempt. She walked him into way more damage than perhaps he would have been in if he just turned over the documents in the first place. But that's where we're at. That's the state of MAGA Republican extremism legal counsel. And every time these Republicans lean in and support the true monster, you know, Trump calls the FBI monsters. He calls the FBI mobsters. He calls them vicious. It's all projection. He's a monster. He's vicious. He is as low as you get. He is a traitor to the United States of America. And this clown show fascism, that is so dangerous, so dangerous. And that's who the Republican Party is. As the Democrats were talking about, here are things that we can do for the people. Let's lower healthcare costs. Let's lower the cost of prescription drugs. Let's make sure Social Security is available for everyone. Let's make sure our troops who are exposed to toxic burn pits come back and get the healthcare that they deserve. Let's make education more affordable for everyone. Let's focus on issues that actually matter to the people. Our infrastructure is dilapidating. Let's do an infrastructure act. There's issues with inflation. Let's do an Inflation Reduction Act. Let's create the job conditions that are middle up versus trickle down. Let's actually invest in workers. Let's help unions. Let's strengthen the working class. Let's focus on actual people and making a difference. And the Republicans are all in this clown show, fascist clown show. It's an insult to clowns. That's who they are. That's not a serious conversation. I want to have serious discussions when it comes to people who make decisions of life and death for me and for my family and for you all and for the community. That's what it boils down to. I need serious, legitimate political conversations, and this complete clown show, fascism, cosplay, weirdness, dangerousness is beyond the pale. This is Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network. Hey, do me a favor. We just got a Patreon account. Check out patreon.com/MeidasTouch, patreon.com/MeidasTouch, Patreon, patreon.com/MeidasTouch, and become a patron of MeidasTouch. You've always been asked, how can we support independent media? Lots of people from out of the country too. Hey, I don't live in the United States, but I'd really want to help independent media. We're not funded by billionaires or decamillionaires. In fact, we're not funded by anybody. It's me and my two brothers who run this, and we're very passionate, obviously, about what we do, and we want to change the face of media. And so if you want to change the face of media and you want to help, one way to help is by going to patreon.com/MeidasTouch, and you could do whatever membership you think is best, where we have bonus content and you could become a producer of our podcast and get postcards from us. There's a lot of cool stuff there, and that community is growing and thriving, even though we just started recently. And subscribe. One of the ways you can help is by becoming a subscriber. Subscribe here, join the Meidas Mighty, and spread the word. Share these videos on YouTube. Share these videos on Facebook. Text these videos to friends, colleagues, family members, even people who disagree with you. Let's bring back rationality, decency, true productive communities. Let's bring that back to the debate. That's what we're trying to do here. I'm Ben Meiselas. See you next time.
This November is Rowvember. MeidasTouch just released its brand new collection of Rowvember t-shirts and pins to let the country know what's at stake this upcoming midterm election. Go to store.meidastouch.com to grab yours. That's store.meidastouch.com.